when you connect to your heart, you disconnect from that kind of frontal lobe of your brain where you try and control everything. And that's when the healing starts to begin.
You're tuned in to the Dr. Kinney Show, and I'm your host, Dr. Aaron Kinney, a naturopathic doctor and speaker dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of your body and guiding you back into balance. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Kinney Show. This week, I'm pleased to have joining me Aaron Bigelow, who is the founder of Amp Coil, which is a fantastic device we have in our office that we've started using this year. And I am really excited to have him on the show so he can kind of explain the science behind Amp Coil, what it's great for, and tell us the story of how he came to create this incredible tool. So thank you, Aaron, for being on the show.
Well, great morning to you.
Yeah. So can you start by sharing with listeners and viewers, how did you come up with this idea? Tell us your story.
Sure. Well, I can't take all the credit for it. It was definitely a family affair, so to speak. So I like to say I had an incredible health opportunity with Lyme disease. Mm-hmm. And I call it a health opportunity because what I've learned over the years is energy, no matter how it comes at us, can be positive or negative. And it depends on how we choose to look at it. And most people that I've seen get a chronic illness like Lyme disease and they go to doom and gloom. And that doesn't end very well. And I got to learn that one the hard way. So saying that, I like to say I was the right person to be bit with a Lyme tick because I was already involved in developing and creating kind of international sales teams for other biofeedback, bioenergetic technology dating back almost 30 years ago when this stuff was really woo-woo. And, nowadays,
just a little woo-woo.
It's just a little bit. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, dating back, about almost 20 years now, I was all of a sudden starting to feel extremely fatigued, brain fog, lack of sleep, you name it. And I was super in tune with my body because I was an elite athlete in skiing, kayaking, mountain biking, you name it. So all of a sudden, when I couldn't do those things, I said, okay, something's up here. I also had a background in psychology and nutrition. So I had a pretty good awareness of what maybe was going on. But back then, something like Lyme disease was rarely detected because mainstream medicine just doesn't really have the right ways of picking it up. They still really haven't changed that. So where there's crisis, there's an opportunity. So what I realized with my wife and partner at the time was we got to create a new opportunity. So after spending close to $500,000 just keeping myself and my oldest daughter, who also had an extreme case of Lyme, it got so bad that after finally going to a holistic mainstream doctor that could really determine what was going on, looked at both of us and said, I don't know if either one of you are going to make it. That's how bad it got.
Oh, wow.
Kind of get your affairs in order conversation. And I wasn't going to take that as a diagnosis, so to speak, especially for my daughter. As a father, it's like, okay, you can mess with me, but don't mess with my kid. And so that's when we really went on the pilgrimage to say, okay, we've already been working with similar technology that just wasn't powerful or precise enough or simple enough for people to use from home. So we said, okay, we get to create it. So all of a sudden I found an incredible engineer who also had Lyme disease, and we started collaborating and realized there were things we could put together. So basically what we did is we put together what's known as a modified Tesla coil. And for those that aren't familiar with the Tesla coil, it tends to be a copper coil that's magnetic energy. And if you hook it up to a high enough powered amplifier, it has the ability to help the body heal. We realized that we needed to make it so powerful that you go intracellular and past the blood-brain barrier, because these bugs are smart enough that they like to hide in the body, even in the thick part of your skull and the back part of your head. They think nothing can get to them. And usually they're right. And that's when most people go crazy with these things and don't tend to get better. So we knew we needed to create a solution that was going to go after the bugs, but still keep the body in harmony. So that's basically what we did. We also knew that it was going to be super important for us to have some sort of analysis so people would know what sort of frequencies to focus on to help the body reharmonize. So with that, there had been quite a bit of research done with voice analysis. And with voice analysis, we knew that every time you speak, there's a tone that comes out of your voice that is related to some sort of parasitic, pathogenic, or any health-related portion of your overall being. So with that, we were able to create a voice analysis, and the voice analysis, you speak into the tablet, as you know, and after a minute, it gives you a very accurate version of what's going on in the body at real time. We have chosen to focus on the things that the body's deficient, mainly parasitic, pathogenic, anything hormonally, mentally, emotionally, as also related to any of the organs. So we broke it down into a numerical value. We tend to pay attention to the highest numbers, 85 or above. That's kind of the nail in the tire. But what we've noticed is majority of the time, you do a 30-minute session over a 4-day period, and the number one, I'll say, invader in the body tends to go away. And once that goes away, it starts to take a lot of its kind of brothers, sisters, cousins in the body with it. So the party starts to leave the body. And one thing I've learned with anything chronic autoimmune is these bugs, they like chaos. So if you haven't kind of cleaned your house, so to speak, they're going to stay around. So the first question people always ask when they come to us is, well, how do I know this is actually going to work? When doesn't this work? And to me, it's real simple. It's if you're still sabotaging your healing, this is going to be the next thing you're going to blame that didn't work. We don't want that. We have incredible support. So if people are willing to come to us and really understand what that means, because a lot of times they don't even get it. They don't realize that toxic relationships can be a major factor. They don't realize leaving your Wi-Fi in your house all day long, especially while you're sleeping, is a major factor. You know, most people understand diet. They usually get that first. But there's a list of about 7 or 8 things, which we can even go through, that I have noticed. If they do those things, the Amp Coil is magic. And usually in weeks, if worst case scenario in months, people feel like they're better than before they thought they were sick.
Yeah.
It's super simple to use.
I'm going to interject here a little bit. I think with the things you're talking about, you know, if your diet isn't correct, if you're not getting good sleep, if you're in a relationship that's bad, if you're in a bad job, if you're doing anything that's creating chaos in your cells and in your body, right? Emotional chaos or physical chaos is, as you said, what it does is it changes the pH to make a pH where bugs love to live there. And this bioterrain. This works, or this is true for any protocol. If you're dealing with Lyme or Epstein-Barr, any chronic thing, it's very hard for the body to heal if you don't get the nervous system and the cells in a calmer place. And, you know, and what I love about the technology that AmpCoil, and I have some questions because I want to just make sure people really understand what it is that is, you know, if you're laying out foundation, it's going to go on and it provides frequencies that kind of make the bugs be like, oh, I don't want to be here. I want to leave. I'm going to get out of here.
Exactly.
Correct? Right.
Yeah,
like they're like, oh, I don't want to stay in this environment anymore. And so that's, you know, so we want, and it will do that while you're in the session. But if then you go back to your life and you don't make any other changes, those things can come right back in. And they're like, oh, hey, particularly viruses like Epstein-Barr, HHV6, or herpes zoster, which is shingles, chickenpox. Those guys never completely go away. I mean, they're always going to be a low level. So, but you know, so if you use the Amp Coil to kind of bring those guys down, and then you, again, go back to the toxic relationship or the bad job or the moldy house that you live in, you know, you're not going to see the long-term results, right? So, you know, the Amp Coil is great to use in conjunction with lifestyle changes, just like anything, right?
And with that, what we have found more often than not is this becomes a new best friend for the family, so to speak. And with that, you know, I see people, you know, we've been in business 10 years now. And the thing that I get very often is, oh, I tried this, I tried that, but all those other things are in the closet. The Amp Coil still sits right next to my bed or next to my couch, because the second something's off, I know it's powerful and precise enough. Myself or my family member are going to be able to knock it out and we can get on with life. So it becomes a positive, almost exciting thing to do because they know they're going to feel good right afterwards.
Yeah. Well, can we maybe just walk out? Can we I want to walk through some of what it's like so people can understand what is this?
Of course.
So, you know, you come in and he was talking about, there's a little tablet that comes with the device and you speak into it. It asks you to say letters and different things. And as he said, it's it is measuring your voice, right? And it's hearing the voice, like it's picking up on different things. And you get this really cool report of like, oh, this organ system isn't working right, or this part of your nervous system is, and then you can choose kind of usually start at the top, which treatments you want to do, correct?
Well, we have an assessment, and then we can do, and we have therapy. Session.
We're going to do a session. Yeah. And you might have to do several sessions to get the body. And then a session consists of you hold this coil and you just kind of lay there with it on you. And it is emitting sound waves, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
And different frequencies, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
And the frequencies are going to change based on which organs or which things we're treating.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah,
and so normally you just lay there and it's really relaxing. It feels really nice.
What we also notice is if somebody's really toxic or if their nervous system is just super ramped up, which is super common these days, it's very common that people fall asleep in the first session. Yeah. And it kind of freaks them out at first because a lot of times they haven't fallen asleep in the middle of the day before.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, which is very accurate, this is a good sign because the body's wanting to reset.
Yeah.
And the second that starts to happen, it's like an epiphany for people. And they're like, wow, okay, something just shifted here.
Yeah, this feels good. My nervous system is actually able to calm down enough to fall asleep in the middle of the day, which is something you should be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not too toxic and chaotic and moving all the time.
I mean, right? Without getting off track, all the countries that have siesta where they kind of go and take a nap in the mid-afternoon, I think is a really good thing. We could learn from that.
Oh, yes. I prescribe that to my patients pretty much every time I say, well, make sure you're laying down. You don't actually have to sleep for this practice. You could just lay down and calm the body down. I call it getting horizontal. I usually try to get horizontal for 10 to 20 minutes in the afternoon. It's a little reset. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And if you go do that
100%.
with another kind of biohacking device, last week we had Dr. Porter on the show talking about brain tap, and I've actually done sessions where I've done brain tap and the Amp Coil, and that's like really nice, really working on the brain and getting the energy right.
Well, I'll just mention really quick, brain tap's incredible. So are so many other biohacking things, but most of these things you don't want to do it exactly the same time as the Amp Coil because it's competing frequencies.
Thank you for
right
that.
Right after, highly encourage it.
Got it.
The body gets a little confused when you put that much at the same time.
I got you. That makes sense.
If you're pretty healthy, you can get away with it. If you're not, you can create a pretty big, storm.
And is that because of the frequencies that the brain tap device is putting out, or what would that be?
It's not the brain tap specifically. It's the body starts to focus on. It's like listening to two songs at the same time.
Confusing the body. It's doing too much at once.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. So let's then talk about, so this is a device where you can go to a clinic and use it, but you can also purchase one of these to use in your own home, correct? You mentioned like families purchase them and they'll use them.
Yeah. So we have about 20% of our owners are in a professional environment. And then we have home users in all 50 states and over 20 countries. So when somebody wants to experience this, because this is definitely an experiential type of technology, we tend to have somebody within a half hour to an hour max from almost anywhere they live in the country or in most countries that they travel to. So that was always our goal because we knew this is one of those things that sounds almost too good to be true until you experience it. But once you experience it, even if you don't completely understand it, because a lot of people don't understand the physics behind it, they just know they feel better afterwards.
Yeah.
So then that's what matters most.
Yeah. And you recommend obviously different conditions are going to require different lengths of sessions or whatnot, but usually you should do one session a day, you mentioned?
Great question. Yeah. So about 2/3 of the so-called journeys in there are what we call feel-good journeys, things that are kind of up regulating the body, allowing the body to feel like it can go through the day with a lot more ease and grace. The other third are the ones that really go after the bugs. And so we do that in a little bit more layered approach. And if you do too much in one day in that category, you can create a pretty big detox or what we call in this community a Herxheimer response, which isn't fun. But
not fun. It's not bad. It means you're healing, but it's sometimes when you heal too quickly, it doesn't feel so good.
We definitely, one of the other big things that people love is when they use this, we have a Herxheimer button in there as well. So if you think you're prone to that, if you know that you're super sensitive, you can run that, and that'll keep you going throughout the day without feeling like you hit the wall.
And that's another session that you can do?
Yeah. So it's in our nutrition panel at the top of the program.
Oh, I've seen that one. Okay. So doing that, you do that before or after the other protocol or the other session?
Correct. Especially if you know you're sensitive.
Yeah. Which a lot of times when you're dealing with Lyme makes you quite sensitive because your nervous system is like, oh my God, get this thing out of me.
Yeah. The other thing that I find fascinating with this too is when we get to know people, I always encourage any of our people to share with us or ask them if they found a gift in their so-called disease.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very fascinating when people are able to answer that question pretty quickly. I know that person is going to go through this pretty fast.
Yeah.
Because they're already on board.
Yeah.
If they don't even know how to think about an answer, we're going to help them get there, but it's going to be a longer road.
Yeah. That's what I like that you asked. I like that you asked that question. It's so interesting. I bring a lot of people on this show and who are healers in some capacity, and I always have them share their story. And I think probably 95% of them went through their own major healing health crisis. Yeah. And that the gift has then been that they've used what they went through to help so many other people. And that's not always the gift, but I think you're right. You get such a gift from when you go through hardships.
I mean, you look at almost any beautiful song ever made, and it's usually the songwriter speaking about their turmoil.
Oh yeah.
And that's their healing.
Yeah. I just went to the Taylor Swift concert in Paris, and I feel like most of her songs are. Of course
you did in Paris.
Yes, it was lovely.
Does that officially make you a Swiftie?
I'm a huge Swiftie. Yes, huge Swiftie.
Okay.
Although I actually learned I'm not as good a fan as I thought I was. It was amazing. People screaming at the top of their lungs, knew every single lyric. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So that I'm actually glad you brought that up, because we're talking about music, and what we're creating with Amp Coil really is music, even though a lot of times people don't hear it right away. But most of the frequencies are close to the 432 hertz range, which almost all love songs are performed in.
Really?
So whether it's Taylor Swift or anyone else who sings a really sappy, emotional song that's this love related, all of a sudden you connect to your heart.
Oh, that's so interesting.
When you connect to your heart, you disconnect from that kind of frontal lobe of your brain where you try to control everything. And that's when the healing starts to begin.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things we create, is that opportunity to let go of all this control that we think we have that we don't, and drop down into that spot where we connect to that frequency. And that's why anytime you hear, any songwriter create a love song, they know they're going to create it in that hertz range, because that's what's going to create the emotional response for somebody to benefit from it.
Yeah. And when you get in that, when you connect with that heart space, it feels good, right? But then I think it also starts to change your environment around you. When the more you connect into that space, you'll start to attract more good things at work and better relationships. And, because we're always getting back what we send out. And so when you're sending out those good vibes from the heart, your life will change. So, I think tools like Amp Coil, obviously we're using them to help the physical body, but they do end up improving your life. And I'm sure you see that with all of the thousands of people that have been helped by that, correct?
To me, this is a journey back to yourself.
Yeah.
And, when people really get that, that's when I know they've got the magic. And it's fascinating. We started in a, small town in Northern California, about 5,000 people in Nevada City. And it's a big kind of healing mecca. And we had over 100 people in the first couple of years that bought Amp Coil just in our little community. And so we'd see people walk in. A lot of times you could barely recognize them. They were all crunched over when they walked in.
Yeah.
Looked like they were going to die. And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, I would see one of them at our local market, and they wanted to come up and give me a big hug. And I wouldn't recognize them. I didn't know who they were.
Because they look so different.
That's how much the transformation was. And
so cool.
The reason why we had so many units in that little town is because all of a sudden people started, the word of mouth was so strong. Like, oh my gosh, I got my life back.
Well, they could probably see the changes. It's one thing, something, you can't see in someone else how they feel, but when you start to when you're healthy and well, you kind of have this glow about you. And
exactly.
Again, your life starts to shift, right? So they probably were seeing those external shifts in people and be like, I want that. I'm going to try that out.
Yeah. Laws of attraction.
Yeah. It's all about the law of attraction.
Thing.
It's definitely a real thing. And I love that you brought up, again, circling back to the Lyme piece, because it is so prevalent. I diagnose probably 10 cases a week, and I don't see that many patients anymore. So, so many of my patients coming in, they think they have hormonal imbalances, and they're like, oh, I'm coming to see this stress hormone doctor. But usually what I find is that, Lyme is kind of disrupting their hormones. But to your point, a lot of their lifestyle practices have kind of put them in a state where they were able to get sick with Lyme. And so, it really speaks to, you've got to do the foundational lifestyle practices to get better from anything.
Yeah, I come at it from a get to.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you start, and you just like that analogy, how do you develop it one bite at a time? You start with some of the big ones. And the big ones to me are mold. If you have mold in your environment, do whatever you have to do to get out of it. Period. Yeah. And that's a big one for a lot of people. So a lot of coaching to get people strong enough to realize that environment is that toxic. Yeah.
I've done several shows on mold toxicity, and it is, and I find that in a lot of patients, and it's pretty, mold is, I think it's terrifying. That scares me, but I'm always looking for that. We want to make sure that, again, there's no mold in the house, no mold in your workplace. And it's sometimes mold, you could have been exposed 10 years ago. And if you haven't done the things to detox those mycotoxins out of your system, they're going to be wreaking havoc and causing chaos. So, it's good to look for those things and to help the detox. And Amp Coil can be really helpful for that, particularly if you're already out of the environment, right? If you're no longer exposed, Amp Coil can really help detox that.
Can we help if somebody's still in the environment? Yes. It's just going to be a longer road.
Yes. Yeah. So you were saying mold, Lyme, I'm assuming you're going to say next.
Yeah. And, with this, the other big thing that's come up in the last few years is what we call long haulers COVID.
Yeah.
And so they're not really talking about this so much in the health community, but it really shows up like Lyme disease.
Yeah.
And how it was engineered to put in the body is very similar to Lyme. So we have a huge advantage because we've been doing this for 10 years. So we're able to basically take the same protocols, slightly change the frequencies, and have people, with these long hauler COVID issues have the same sort of positive effects, sometimes even 1 or 2 sessions, to where they're going, wow, I'm already noticing a shift.
I feel so much better.
Nothing else is working.
Yeah. Which it's amazing, again, to have that as a tool, because COVID affected a lot of people. I mean, I think I maybe have 4 patients that never contracted COVID. Most people have had it multiple times at this point. And some people are fine, but if you had Lyme or some other, major viral infections, or if your adrenals were in the tank before you got COVID and you've got low cortisol, you're much more likely to get long haul COVID. And,
I'd say half our population has some version of long haulers, and they just don't even know what it is.
Yeah. But you're seeing great results, correct?
Yes. Again, it shows up very similar to what we were already dealing with. So we knew how to deal with it, and just to make some minor tweaks. And we've done that. And one of the other big things that we chose to do, because the world has become, I'll just say, heavier in a lot of ways, where people have to work a lot harder to kind of stay in the light. And so, as you know, we just added a PMF Mat to the program as well.
Yes.
So you have this coil, you tend to put it next to your heart, because your heart's your most powerful transmitter. And it goes 4 feet in every direction. However, we realized we could penetrate deeper and faster by having a mat you could lie on and put that on the other side, usually behind your back. And like you said, go horizontal. It can be in a 0 gravity chair, or lying down, and put the coil in front of you. And that combination, now you're sandwiched in between it. And you can go through, you can cut the healing time a lot of times in half by being able to use that combination together. So that's just something we've spent the last few years developing. We finally got it right, and launched it into the market just in the last few months. Yeah,
we just got ours a couple of weeks ago. I haven't even started implementing it. I'm kind of excited to try it out with patients.
Well, awesome. Happy to help. help with that. It only takes about 5 minutes to learn how to put it together.
Yeah. Excited. I don't know. I think it's such a cool technology. And one of my favorite things about that session, doing a session of an Amp Coil, is you get to lay down and relax while you're doing it. And I'm always telling, so I love when my patients come in and like, hey, I want you to go do this. You're going to get obviously everything that it's doing for you, but you're also going to get a little quiet time laying down flat, which is going to do wonders. It's going to reboot you. It's going to give you like a good second half of the day. So, I'm a fan of any treatment that, causes you to like take a pause during your busy, chaotic day, because it allows the nervous system.
You mean I can't be on my phone for 30 minutes?
Oh, no, you can't be on your phone with AmpCoil, right? You got to put it away. It's another great thing about it. You got to put your phone away. It will interfere with things, or it will interfere with your phone, correct?
It could.
Yeah.
If you sat your phone on a coil for 30 minutes, it probably wouldn't end well.
Yeah. Yeah. So phones away, which is a good thing too, right?
100%.
The phones are amazing, right? They allow us to do so many things with the touch of a finger. We can access all kinds of stuff, but they're not so great for us. So it's good to take some phone breaks.
Yes.
Good to take some phone breaks.
And grounding.
Yes.
Separate from any other technology, people they can't believe that putting your feet on the earth for 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Can discharge so much crap out of our body.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, if you can do that in conjunction with something like the Amp Coil, you've got a winner.
Supposed to do it outside, you mean?
What you use the Amp Coil? I said, no, I'm talking about in conjunction.
Or just doing that every day.
Connect. Yes. Correct. Yeah. Finding a way to connect to the earth away from technology is one of my favorite things to do every day.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny to me that they researched that, because it's like, it seems like, being outside in nature, but they've researched it will balance your cortisol levels. It will help your neurotransmitter levels regulate. It regulates the nervous system, the digestive system. It'll help women with menstrual cramps. I sometimes go with bad periods. I'm like, you need to go lay down on the earth, like directly on the earth, once a day for 10 minutes. And
there you go.
Your menstrual cramps will get better. So yeah, it's pretty cool what the resources that we have, I think I love all the, cool new biohacking techniques, but there's a lot of things that already exist in nature that we can use as, the original biohacking methods. So,
you got it.
Yeah. All right. So if people want to learn more about Amp Coil, best place to go is the website, correct?
Yeah. It's ampcoil.com.
Okay.
Our staff is amazing. Almost anyone that's worked with us, has their own health story, and with that, they're able to share that. So people realize that when they're talking to somebody who's kind of been in their scenario already. And then it's creating an opportunity for them to have a session as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because that's going to speak volumes.
And so, if you're listening and you're local in the Maryland area, we obviously have our office. Can they find one on the website? Can you go and find a place where you can go and try it out?
Great question. There are some ambassadors actually listed on the site, but what we attempt to do is have you talk to one of our representatives first, because we want to set you up with the right person.
Yeah.
And make that connection so it goes well.
Yeah.
So we really become an advocate for you to have an incredible experience.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
Wherever it may be.
Yeah. And then if you like it, you can obviously purchase one to keep in your home and then use it, regularly.
Yeah. And a lot of people, are not in a financial position to purchase this. So we've created a great opportunity with a company we've worked with for many years that provides financing.
Yeah.
So they can put 10% down, and that makes it feasible for almost anyone.
Which is fantastic. I think it's really great to make these really cool tools accessible to as many people as possible. So thank you for doing that.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, this is definitely a labor of love. I mean, this is literally like humanitarian work that we do. And, we almost operate like a nonprofit company, because for us, we want to bring the price low enough to where everybody can benefit from this in one way or another. And, I get up every day and realize that, those of us who have sought to serve, I think, are the ones who are truly happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so there isn't a day that I wake up and wish I was doing something else.
You love your work.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I went into it kicking and screaming because I knew it was going to be an immense amount of work.
Yeah.
And, there are powers that be that don't want us using these technologies out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been an interesting ride too, to, navigate that and kind of slide below the radar.
Yeah, it's an interesting space to be in, in this kind of alternative medicine realm. But I found, I've been practicing almost 13 years. And, when I was first in practice, people would be like, you do what? You're a what kind of doctor? Like, I get written off. Oh, she's the quack. She's the this. But now people are, like since COVID, people are just like they're hungry for this. They want to feel better. They're fed up with, the old paradigm of medicine. And so it's been a cool, I'm sure you've experienced that as well. Like people are more open. They're looking for different ways, different treatments. That's what I've experienced. Well, thank you so much for coming on and being a guest. This has been fantastic. And again, if you want to learn more about Amp Coil, you can go to ampcoil.com and we'll put all those links and everything in the show notes. And I look forward to seeing everyone next week. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you very much. It was incredible. And I appreciate what you do in the world. We need more light workers like yourself out there. So I love your energy, everything you're about, and look forward to giving you a big hug when I see you in person.
Yeah, sounds great. Take care, guys. Thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to connect with me on social media and leave a rating and/or a review. This helps grow the show so more people have access to this knowledge that leads to empowered healing. Love and light, and see you next week.